Okay. Notice his mouse already? Up and down, up and down?
Yeah.
He's chunked.
Up and down.
I don't know why he's chunked. How are you chunked? Oh, okay. So he comes into lane. This opening, it's a little weird because we can't really talk about the map. We don't really know where the enemy started. But it seems like his support may have actually been just straight up AFK. So Uzi can't really do anything.
No one. Oh, that's why he got chunked.
Yeah, he got chunked. This is really stupid. Now, most players would jump in against Lucian, right? Because they would be like, oh, I'm missing 2 CS. But it doesn't actually matter because if you jump in for Lucian now, you're essentially gonna die. As the lane evolves. Fucking Nautilus is trolling. That's okay. Alright, at this point, again, see how we're spacing against our support?
Because they win.
They win.
In terms of range,
They win.
Yeah, they win.
Yeah, and this is really good for Lucian and Janna, right? Because they can hard shove this wave, right? They can hard shove the next wave, and then they can reset. Actually, they can get a cheat recall, which is where if they hard shove this wave now, MF and Nautilus can't break this wave. So what ends up happening is they reset. They can come back to a bounce back on wave 3, while simultaneously having a superior item build because of the
Minion lead.
Yeah,
The wave has been.
yeah, exactly. And then what ends up happening is if they can keep the wave 3, if they can keep wave 3 here, and if they can keep wave 4 here as well, the Nautilus, who will eventually hit level 3 at wave 4, won't be able to do anything because you're going to be playing like essentially under tower, right? Lucian will be. Lucian and Janna. Which then gives Janna the opportunity to attack and harass and poke out as much as she desires, and then relative to where the jungler starts, this is a really, really good timing to evade a standard 315 to 330, 345 opening by the jungler if he does opt to start from the left-hand side. And this also completely evades a 6-minute into 7-minute opening from the jungler if he does end up, rotating back down to the right-hand side of the map and then attempts to, gank bot lane, because every phase will eventually turn into a slow push. And then what ends up happening is you could slow push wave 5, wave 6, and then in some cases even wave 7. Yeah, and then you can recall off that, and the enemy can't really hurt you because of the massive wave you've built up. And then you just play against MF's range. Okay. That's essentially how you wanna play the lane out. Ends up taking a hit from Janna, but that's okay. It's not the end of the world. But here you can see we're just giving up the CS. We're not trying to fight. We're not trying to do anything, right?
Essentially, just play safe at the lane. Just CS. You
Mhm.
don't have to do anything for now.
Mm-hmm. And you notice he's playing with Janna's range, right? So what's MF's range? Like 500,
500.
like 550?
I think so.
550? Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But we're essentially playing Janna's range versus MF's range, right? So as Janna moves in, we move back. As Janna moves, backwards, we move in. Right?
Basically tethering.
Yeah, we essentially tether the range of whatever Janna is. Obviously, it's not this long, right? But we essentially tethered the range. And we just wait. Now, Lucian could have opted to last hit, but he opts to actually shove. Right? He opts to push to the next wave. Now, this could be for a number of reasons, but we don't really know because we don't have the map, right? But it doesn't really matter because the concept is what matters, okay? If you can begin to understand the role, you can begin to then mold it to whatever you feel like would be, in your liking. Okay? This is a really good hook by the Nautilus. Actually, I think this might be just game changing. Now, this is a byproduct of Lucian's poor wave management.
Because he just freezes the wave rather than shoving it under the tower.
Well, why do you not bounce the wave back? Why do you force Janna in an awkward position? And why do you push the wave so late to the point where the 4th wave ends up blocking? right? Like, there's just so many things wrong with what Lucian is doing, and this gets Janna killed. Janna and Lucian are both making errors. Why are you trading against Nautilus right now? Why are you not hitting the wave? Why are you not spam pinging the wave and shoving it into tower before the fourth ends up locking, right? This wave was essentially won by Lucian had he just either, gotten a recall off early on, or had bounced the wave back. Yeah, he could have done so many things, and he didn't do it, right? This is what bad players do. Well, again, this guy's challenger, right? This guy's like top challenger, and he's losing the lane for his Janna. And here, I mean, she just gets hooked, and you can see the fourth wave locking, and then they're forced to heal, right? Even though Lucian ends up coming out. Actually, I think Lucian, was very fucking close. Yeah, it was extremely close there. But like, you don't need to put yourself in situations like this. The only reason this goes okay is because Lucian is a strong champion early on against MF, right? I mean, so is MF. Don't get me wrong, but Lucian, he's really strong in the burst department, right? So it ends up being okay. Yep, this is fine. Now, this is a really good video to show you, to know what to do when you are playing from behind. Right? So he goes double Dorans. I think that this patch, it's probably better to go into Longsword, or even Cull. For Essence, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Cull, you don't need Cull. I mean, in some games you need.
In some games you can go Cull, yeah. Like if the wave is really good for you, and relative to like how you think the game should last, I think you can get away with Cull. I think Cull is really underrated. Yeah, I don't think enough AD carries build Cull, and it's like really, it's a little weird because it really helps you, especially in matchups like this. Now, okay, tell me what you would do here, as an MF player, as an ADC. What do you think the correct call here is?
I mean, since MF is behind, I could have, since Lucian back, I could have shoved the wave up the tower, or either I can just maintain the freeze here. But since
it's not a freeze.
Oh, it's reset, so I could have shoved the wave because Lucian can miss a lot of minions in line with him recalling on the spot, which is his kind of wave.
Okay. Well, this actually depends on where Janna is and where Nautilus is, right? If Nautilus ends up showing, right? If Nautilus ends up showing somewhere here, and Janna is here, then we should hard shove the wave, because this is the 6th wave at the moment. Okay. This is the 6th wave. Now, what's gonna end up happening if we slow push and we build up wave 6 and wave 7? Sure, we can get the shove off of them, right? We can shove the lane in. We can maybe look into river for vision. We can get a deep ward. We can even potentially tether, depending on how everything is looking, or we can just straight up recall, right? Although a recall would be weird because we wouldn't really have enough gold income, right? Our next recall isn't until like at least the 11th wave or so. So that's just out of question completely. Now, one thing we can definitely do here is, because we see Lucian recalling right now, and the game timer is at 4 minutes and 5 seconds, okay? Now, if Lucian ends up resetting right now at 4 minutes and 5 seconds, let's say he's in base. Now, he's going to come out of base, or he's going to be back in lane around, let's say, 4 minutes and 25 seconds. Okay? Which means that we can actually shove in wave 6, and we can shove in wave 7 if it is in close proximity, and then get the wave under tower for a wave for the 8th and 9th wave to bounce back into us, and then play the game off of there. This allows us to, 1, deny Lucian of minions, and 2, allows us to shove the wave back into us and play the lane here instead of building up a massive wave under a tower.
Plus, you have much control of the wave rather than Lucian.
Well, the idea.
Technically, he wins.
Yeah. Technically, yeah. So you have a number of options here. You can either hard shove or you can slow push, but again, that can get even deeper in itself, right? So the concept we can discuss is, where is the enemy jungler? What type of jungler is the enemy jungler? Does the enemy jungler excel off of building waves and throwing it into tower, or does the enemy jungler does our jungler want to dive, right? Does the enemy jungler sorry, let me rephrase that. Does the enemy jungler excel off of a massive minion wave. Even like some champions can't do that, right? Like Talia can't do much if you're inside of a wave. Graves can't do much if you're inside of a wave. Lee Sin has a hard time, right? But then there's champions like Elise who also may have a hard time, but can also make up their own ganks through not immediately throwing out the cocoon, jumping on you through the minions. Okay. There's champions like Jarvan that don't necessarily care too much about. Now, don't get me wrong. If there is a big minion wave, you will get all in, right? No, not all in. Sorry, you will get. The minions will play with you. So you will get the enemy will get hit by the minions. So that is favorable in your end, but it depends on the champion, right? Like Lee Sin and Graves are a lot different than Olaf. Well, then again, Olaf can still have trouble with minions and everything, right? But like you know what I'm talking about?
Kind of.
Certain champions excel off of waves. Or a better way of phrasing this is certain champions, certain junglers that want to gank you, don't necessarily.
So
They're gonna have a harder time if you build up a wave. Versus other junglers that, yeah, there's a big wave, so it sucks, but it's not like they can't throw out their damage. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Understood.
Now Lucian just reset, right? I'm sorry, I actually explained that really poorly. I should have explained that a little better. Now here, again, we can either choose to last hit and build wave 6 and 7, or we can choose to hard shove the wave. But this all depends on the proximity
Positioning.
of where Janna is and where Nautilus is. Because if Janna shows and Janna passively autos the wave, then sure, maybe you don't get the freeze in time, right? If the enemy jungler shows and you're pushing in the wave and you have a blue advantage and it's pushing in somewhere around here, maybe the enemy jungler does like a pressure, he does like a, what do you call it? He just pressures you, right? So he just shows up, pressures you, you move back, he moves out of the jungle, lane's frozen. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you have any questions so far?
So far it's kind of okay.
Mm-hmm. Now,
Yeah,
about the mouse clicking. Now again, this is something that I have been thinking about recently. And this goes more of like into a health factor. You see Uzi's clicks up and down?
Mm-hmm.
This is fine. But if you start having wrist problems and this starts hurting your wrist, you have to, like, be careful. Right? So, like, the first time, sure. You have to get used to it, right? Maybe you'll get used to it the first 2 times, 3 times, sure. But if it continues to hurt, then I would say you see a doctor. Right? Or you invest in, like, a wrist brace. I don't know if those actually help. I used to have one when I was playing AD carry in Masters.
I have a custom wrist brace. And then I have a foam mouse pad, so I'm good.
Okay. Yeah. Now see, Janna shows, right? And so Janna now again, I can't see the map, so this is why he decided to slow push, is because Janna showed. Now Janna can actually revert the crash, right? She can auto the minions as Uzi is trying to shove the wave, and so what ends up happening is Lucian gets a freeze, right? Nautilus shows up, Janna backs off. Obviously, you don't want to get hooked. And then this comes off. This is very good, and then this is just a very standard support movement, in the sense where if Janna did have priority in lane at one point, a ward could have been placed, and as the wave is coming in, it gives your top laner and your jungler the enemy jungler a very easy 4-man, which pretty much ends bot lane. So if you are a support player, and I know you do queue up as support sometimes, going
I
sweep.
need to understand.
Yeah. If lane priority has been in the enemy's favor through a I guess you could say a longer duration of time, and the wave then eventually is pushing back into you, then we can assume, and you are playing in like Masters or Diamond or Challenger or whatever, we can assume that a ward is placed here. And if the enemy top laner does have a timing at where she can end up teleporting down, then getting a sweeping lens to actually essentially deny this idea is really big, especially with the alcove changes. I think that it's very important to make sure you have these, because in many instances, I believe that support players can easily place the ward in this little skull area.
And then it doesn't get spotted. If you
It doesn't get spotted. And then if the enemy champion can accept, and again, this is Fog of War, right? And if the enemy champion shows in top lane or from top lane as a teleport, your lane is essentially over, right? This is just a little, it's not like a fucking groundbreaking fundamentals. You have to do this to get better thing. It's more like, hey, you're approaching Diamond, you're approaching Masters, you're approaching Challenger, right? Start doing these things because the players that you're playing against are gonna start having.
Utilize this.
They're not blind. Yeah, they're gonna see the wave coming in. They're gonna see the wave shoving inwards, and they're gonna do something about it. Okay, makes sense. Give me 1 second. Hold on. I'm so sorry about that. I had to close the door for somebody. Yeah, I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any questions about any of this so far?
So far everything's clear.
Yep.
I just have to watch everything and make a certain notes about it, so I could put this everything in my mind in one go.
Okay. Sorry, could you repeat that? You have to put this all into your...
I normally after the coaching session I put a notepad on the PC, and then I note everything down, bullet points, what I learned and what I need to practice on even further.
Right. So you're essentially a Diamond AD carry at this point. Mm-hmm. And you asked me, right? What's the difference between a gold player and a what's after gold? Platinum. Jesus. What's the difference between a gold player and a platinum player? What do you think? The fundamentals, right? Now, if the difference between a gold player and a platinum player is fundamentals, what do you think the difference between a master player to a challenger player is?
Same thing.
Same thing. Fundamentals. There is absolutely no difference than what a gold player needs to do to get into platinum than what a master needs to do to get into challenger. It is just fundamentals. Now, a lot of the time, I have people asking me, okay, sure, Zen, you have all these videos and you're telling me what to do, but I can't actually do them. I can't physically perform the task. And this is what I've come up with. Isolation practice, right? And you know what that is. You go to a gym, one day you're working out your biceps, one day you're working out or not just biceps, let's say arms. The other day you're working out your chest back, or just whatever routine you have, right? You're not doing everything every day, right?
Yeah.
So what you do is, let's say, what are the fundamentals? Tell me. What do you think the fundamentals are?
CSing, laning, trading.
Okay, so there's CSing, there's trading, there's spacing, there's mouse movements, okay? Let's say mouse clicks and accuracy. Let's say there's, what else is there? There's map awareness. Spelled awareness wrong. There's warding, okay? What else?
Cooldown? The cooldowns of the enemy, you know when to go in?
Trading.
Oh, it's the same.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Now, certain fundamentals, now I know people are going to be like, oh, but, LS has these certain fundamentals and laws and rules or whatever, because I know that people, anytime I talk about fundamentals and the list that, where it originated from, I believe that certain fundamentals have certain differences, in the sense where in low elo, warding is not a fundamental. And the reason for that is, in low MMRs of play, where you have to first ask yourself, what are you warding for? You're warding for the jungler, you're warding for the support realms, you're warding for, generally you're warding for the jungler, let's say, for example. But in lower MMRs of play, junglers aren't, they're not actually pathing, or they're not thinking, and so they run at random. So you can't really track someone who's running randomly, right? So now if warding is not a fundamental in low elo, then when does it become a fundamental? Well, it becomes a fundamental after, I would say, Platinum 1, Platinum 2. Because then junglers start having, at least simple thought processes. And so jungle tracking becomes a fundamental. And so warding, you can only ward relative to where the jungler is, or your support and higher MMRs of play, or your top laner. Obviously, can get a lot more advanced, but we're just talking for the sake of simplifying everything, right? So what do we do to practice these fundamentals? So well CSing, right? You can go into a game, into a custom game, and you can start CSing and looking at the minimap at the same time, and you do that for every single minion. That's easy to do. That's a simple drill you can do with CSing. Trading, I can't type today. Spacing and mouse clicks. So, okay, well, actually I messed up a little bit. CSing also is the same as map awareness, right? So what you're doing in the first drill is you're going to go into a custom game and you're going to start CSing and you're going to look at the map after every CS you take. That's very standard to do, yeah. Yeah, that's really easy to do. That's like fucking, that's simple advice. Drill number 2, and again, you go on my Discord, right? I have people looking for 1v1s all the time. You contact them, they will, respond to you, and you just 1v1 them. And so you're practicing trading, spacing, and your mouse clicks, right? Okay, so we got CSing out of the way, we got trading, spacing out of the way, we got mouse clicks out of the way, we got map awareness out of the way. Warding and jungle tracking is also very simple to do. Just watch replays and pay attention to waves. Watch replays and pay attention to how the professional player or the challenger controls his waves. Or play jungle. Again, if you're a diamond player, diamond master challenger, or AD carry, if you're a high elo laner, you are doing yourself a disservice by not playing jungle. And if you're a high elo jungler, you're doing yourself a disservice by not playing lane.
Makes sense.
Make sense? So, the fundamentals that I talk about really can just be, divided from these 3 drills, right? And obviously there's more that you can come up with, right? But you're essentially isolating everything, okay? Okay? And I mean, other than that, that's pretty much all we have to talk about. Everything else is just a repetition of what's going on with Uzi. Yeah. I'll post this online so you can take a look, and hopefully you can improve off that. I think that the fact that you went from, what did you do last? What were you last ranked that we coached?
Gold 1 promos.
Yeah, you were gold 1. You're gold 1 promos in the beginning, and now you're in diamond promos off of like 1 session. So I think that you have a lot of potential. Your mouse movements aren't terrible. I think that you just need to get some work done, just some refinement. Okay.
Yeah, the accuracy is bad. The movements are kind of okay, but the
movements aren't bad. Now, I don't mean to discourage you in any way when I say this, but you are playing in the Garena. How do you pronounce that? Garena servers, yeah. So the server itself is weak, right? You know what's funny? This exact situation happened to you.
Yeah, the fucking kid.
Yeah, that was a little weird. Now, you're playing in a server that's a little weak. I think that you can easily hit Challenger.
Maybe by the end of the whole.
Yeah. I think by the end of the session, but end of the year you can hit Challenger. And when you do hit Challenger, I think you should consider moving out to a different region.
Yeah, I'm considering moving to either EU or NA.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm probably leaving the Philippines in about 8 months from now.
Yeah.
I'm going to TwitchCon for 2 weeks, or probably 1 month in Germany for 2 weeks, so I can play solo queues with my friends. Probably rank up all of my accounts.
Do you live in the Philippines?
Yeah, I have a house here, like my grandma's old house. I mean, it's a good house. So I brought my whole
Wait a
setup
minute.
here.
I just got one of my coaches just messaged me. Why don't you play in Korea? How much ping do you get in Korea?
I never tried playing on Korea before.
Jesus.
I would love to
Go play in Korea. Are you able to?
I wish I can play. I think I can ask one of my friends, because one of my friends has an account there, so I can probably ask him for if I can play for just one to two games. I
Well,
see what's
I'm not sure how the Korean whole thing works, where you have to have a
ID.
Yeah. How far is Singapore from?
Singapore from the Philippines.
Mhm.
I mean,
You know what's funny? I used to actually live in Singapore for like, I was in Hong Kong for
Really?
yeah, I was in Hong Kong for like a few days. I was traveling, and Hong Kong was really, really nice. Hong Kong was really beautiful. Singapore, I was there for a little bit.
Singapore, not that far. But Korea, where's Korea? Actually, I feel like Korea is a little bit further off, but it's still manageable. 'Cause,
I think Mhm.
before I played like season 7, which was the first start of my League of like I started playing League of Legends, I had around like 100 to 130 ping, and I played like first role, of course, top lane. I was a top lane main back then. Then I was doing a good with CS for like a low elo player, because I transitioned from Dota player, then back going to League of Legends. So it's all of the things are really like, familiar for me. So I played like around 130 ping. Well, I could probably give it a shot playing in Korea.
Yeah. So do this. Try to get try to go to Korea. Not physically, but try to play in Korea for a little bit. See how you do. And then if the ping is too high, and see, the problem is you're an AD carry. If you're a jungler, I would tell you to just go play in Korea. Even if you're at like 70 or 90 ping, you can still jungle, right? I was in Korea for a short time, and I did play on my Korean ID when I came back to NA, but I mean I stopped, but I was in Diamond at the time, and I just played jungle. So it is definitely doable. It's not like it's impossible, but I think that the first thing you do is you go and you see your ping in Korea, and you try to evaluate if this is, you know, a region where you can transfer to. And if that doesn't work, then I guarantee then I suggest that you go and get Challenger as fast as possible. Right? And then if you do hit Challenger, swap regions as fast as possible, because you're never going to grow further inside of servers that are weak by nature. Okay? Like,
maybe that's a goal for the year.
Yeah, every EU NE player should be swapping to EU West as soon as possible. Right? The fact that if you're like Diamond in EU NE, there's fucking issues. You're probably gold in EU West. Right? So it puts things into perspective. Okay, do you have any questions?
No, everything's clear.
All right, perfect. If you have any questions, you can just DM me.
All
right. Okay. All right, man. Take it easy. What's up?
Thank you.
Yep. No worries.
See you.
Bye.